Welcome to MMO Grinder Backtrack, where we check out previously viewed titles to see what's new. So here we are yet again, diving right back into Elder Scrolls Online to get everyone up to date, though we do have a bit of new information on the entire pacing of these updates as well. ZeniMax Online has decided that they need a more rigid update model, not just one major update every 3 months, but a proper roadmap for making consistent content and smoothing out the workflow pipeline. DLC will arrive in the first quarter of the year, which could be free or paid. A major expansion, or as they call it, chapter, will be released in the second quarter of the year. A dungeon-based DLC will come in the third quarter, and an additional DLC in the fourth quarter. So what does that mean for Elder Scrolls Online currently? Well, once again we have some groundwork to cover, so let's get into Elder Scrolls Online Backtrack Mk and see where the game is now. Starting out, we'll talk about Shadows of the Hist, the first dungeon-only DLC pack released on August 2nd, 2016. If you aren't an ESO Plus member, you can purchase the DLC, which consists of 2 dungeons located in Shadowfen, for 1,500 crowns. Both dungeons have an emphasis on Argonians to a greater or lesser extent, and are very mechanics-heavy, with small narratives weaving throughout them and special challenges to complete for additional rewards. The real shame of this update is that the DLC itself feels a bit too expensive for the amount of content provided, but that will come down to each player's preference. The interesting part is the base game itself had its price cut in half, clocking in at $29.99 US, or your regional equivalent, and adding an additional version known as ESO Gold Edition, which includes the first 4 DLC packs mentioned in the first backtrack. While I would love to recommend picking up the Gold Edition for new players, it really makes more sense to get the cheaper base edition and see if you enjoy the game enough to want additional content. There's also another aspect on the horizon that prevents me from recommending Gold Edition, but that will become more clear at the end. To round out the update, all players were given access to the Style Parlor, allowing you to get special cosmetics for changing your character's hairstyle, tattoos, and even facial hair. Additionally, ESO Plus members could now dye any costume piece whatever color they wished. Those who aren't subscription players can still get dye packs, but these limit your choices to what is in the pack instead of being completely open. For you Xbone and PS4 players, the ability to use text chat was finally added to the console version of the game. Additionally, more personalities were added to the game, with 1 major in the form of Heroic, 1 minor in the form of Drunk, and 3 simple made up of Furious, Cheerful, and Melancholy, allowing some added variety for role players or people just wanting a different stance. New tokens were added to the Crown Store as well, allowing you to rename your character, change your race, or your appearance. These are broken up into 3 separate tokens, so make sure you get the token you actually want to use. Do note that there is no way to change which class you play or what faction you're in, though the latter isn't much of an issue anymore. Perhaps one of the single most significant updates to the game since launch, clocking in at a hefty cost of absolutely free, and a real unfortunate decision for MMO Grinder not putting out this backtrack sooner. On October 5th, 2016, Tamriel made its debut, and was a complete overhaul of the game from the ground up, changing the faction system, levels, adding in dueling, and some firsts for the game as a whole. Obviously the first 2 are the single most important aspects, as Tamriel completely lifted the alliance system from affecting any of the PvE content, allowing you to see and group with anyone in any alliance. Some towns that were already crowded before are absolutely flooded now, with only a simple icon within the player's name designating what faction they are fighting for. This leaves only PvP where faction allegiance matters. It means Grindstone will totally be open for all you non-Ebonheart players to join and group with. The second significant aspect of the update was ensuring that everything in the game actually scales to the individual player. I don't mean everyone is scaled up to a set level, but the enemy levels are gone entirely, and whatever level you're at is what the enemy will fight at. We see a bit of confusion with this, as people often wonder what happens if a level 50 and a level 10 attack the same enemy. Well, it is rather simple. The enemy will have level 10 resistances and damage for the level 10 player, and level 50 resistances and damage for the level 50 player. This means all content will always be worth doing for any player regardless of how far they have gotten into the game, and allows them to team up with anyone just starting out without making it a cakewalk. Sure, you'll still be able to do more as a higher level player and kill things a bit quicker, but don't expect to go around one-shotting everything with light attacks anymore. The other benefit of this system is that it allows players to pick a direction and go, as they won't ever run into enemies that are too high level for them to fight. Okay, to stop any pedants out there, sure, if you run into a boss, you're going to have a bad time. But if you want to start the game's storyline from Windhelm, or say to hell with it and play another faction storyline first, you can now. The only things restricted to you are DLC content, should you not have it unlocked for your account, and the PvP. This scaling even extended to all resources in the game, meaning if you see a pile of lumber, it will be appropriate to the level of your crafting proficiency or your character level, and this goes for everyone. On top of this, now you can challenge people to duels, which did see a brief rise in the annoying habit of people demanding duels, but that has since died down. In addition, another personality was added to the store, known as Commander, and 2 holiday events were created. These took the form of Witches' Festival for Halloween and New Life Festival for New Year's. Witches' Festival was rather simple, and a test for future events going forward. In it, you needed to open the Crown Store and get a free crow's whistle, which started a small quest to get a Witch's Brew. This brew granted 100% experience boost, along with giving boss enemies a chance to drop plunder skulls. These skulls contained themed crafting motifs, unique food recipes, style materials, among other things. That was pretty much the extent of it. Like I said, pretty simple. The second event, known as New Life Festival, was far more involved, though not incredibly complex. As each year in Tamriel passes, a small celebration is thrown to usher in hope for the future year to come, which each of the races celebrate in their own way. When completing each celebration, you were given a loot box which contained more unique food recipes, crafting motifs, and some amusing toys and collectibles. Each could be repeated daily, and to say people were interested in the event would be a massive understatement. The current update was released on February 6, 2017, and was once again free for everyone. The appropriately named Homestead introduced the much sought-after player housing to the game, which some fastidious players discovered months in advance. Players will find a free item within the Crown Store that starts them on a short quest to acquire their very own home. Well, in this case it's an apartment, but it's completely free, so there's no reason not to get it. The actual housing comes in various sizes, which naturally range in price, but I wanted to bring up the fact that housing is insanely reasonable to get with in-game gold. By comparison, the cost in crowns for these houses seems completely out of sorts. But I suppose it isn't a bad thing that they make them more achievable by the player base, instead of requiring them to drop cash. Granted, there will be some houses that require cash only to pick up, one of which is an Argonian island that I've been dreaming of, but that is still listed as coming soon, so at least I got to have a brief moment of euphoria while running through it on the test server. Each race gets its own style of house per tier: staple, classic, notable, which all look rather good with the exception for Argonian housing. Yep, going there again, but there's a reason I want the island so badly. It actually looks sensible for a marsh dweller to build, and it seems the devs realize how crap the Argonian houses look, quite literally, and made them the cheapest of the lot. Well, now that you have a house, what are you going to do with it? Well, you're going to decorate it, of course. It should be noted that the editor for housing decorations is very in-depth, allowing you to come up with some rather imaginative creations all on your own. Simply press F5 while in a home you own, and the editing system will pop up, giving you access to a wide variety of tools to make the house look the way you want it to. All that requires furniture though, so how do you get furniture? Well, you can buy standard furniture from marked vendors or normal vendors, or you can go to special achievement vendors that have rare items which can only be purchased after unlocking specific achievements. There are even special vendors in the world as well, like an actual Daedra that sells plants and trees. For some reason. Yeah, okay.
If your home desperately needs something Daedric, you've come to the right place. I could set you up with the most unsettling pieces.
Outside of that, you could choose to build your own furniture as well, which requires special crafting recipes and makes the crafting system even more worthwhile. In essence, these crafting recipes combine multiple crafting professions, requiring set levels of proficiency in each to make furniture, like a lamppost requiring woodworking for the post, blacksmithing for the metal of the lamp, and alchemy for the oils. So how do you get these recipes? There are ways. Alright, to be fair, while it does seem pickpocketing and murder are the most expedient methods at the moment, you can find crafting recipes by looting crates or fighting enemies and getting rare drops as well. You can even get them from completing the crafting writs, which have seen a major increase in their value since the patch went live. When you complete a crafting writ and turn it in, not only do you get the standard reward, but the loot crate can contain a furniture recipe and/or a sealed writ inside. These sealed writs are incredibly exact orders that you can complete and take to a specialty supplier for writ vouchers. These vouchers can then be used at that supplier to buy legendary furniture, including entire crafting stations, some of which can be changed into a set-piece crafting station to place in your home. This update certainly ensures you'll have a lot to do before the next patch hits, which can't be all that major of a deal, right?
Return swiftly, Morok Tong, and bring any allies you meet. Morrowind has need of you all.
Oh, hell. What am I even supposed to say over these credits? I mean, you saw what's coming next. That's going to be a major video in and of itself. Might even need to be a review. What? Don't look at me like that, John.